recording for those who cannot make it, because I know some people will be out. Y muy buenos días, muy buenos días. ¿Cómo están todos? ¿Cómo están todos? ¿Bien?
Bien.
Más o menos.
Cansado.
Cansada, estás cansada. Muy normal, es muy normal estar cansada o estar cansado los lunes, ¿sí? Los lunes es muy normal. Mi esposo tiene una reunión de su compañía, está muy cansado. My husband is not used to waking up this early, and he got called in for a meeting early.
Okay.
So, of course, all online. So, yeah, he was pretty tired too. Bueno, vamos a practicar con muchas cosas hoy. I am hoping to kind of test something out on you guys to see if you like it, if we have time. It's a new little website that has a number of different kind of game-oriented activities. And I'm hoping to try it out with you online to see if it's something that you want me to create some, new exercises. And it's the kind of thing where it'll be like a self-quiz. All the little games will tell you if you're right or wrong and help you with that. So we've got kind of a trial run to do all together. But if you like it, if you give it a thumbs up, I'll devise a similar type activity on the same platform to use as a homework self-quiz. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we've got that. We're going to work a little bit with this thing. Any questions you've got about reading? Any questions you've got about that video with dar? We're going to talk a little bit about dar today. Es un verbo muy importante. This is a super important verb. Dar is, because it means to give. And you had a little video on that. You probably have some questions on it because it had some easy stuff and some hard stuff with dar. A little bit of all. And actividades. Yeah, we've got some activities for those of you who are newly in this group from the step 1 group. We're going to have a separate lesson, and the rest of you, we're going to have a breakout room session for you to talk about using things you're going to do, that structure of ir, a, and an infinitive. Okay, so if you have little notes, and you need to go back and pull those out, I want you to have a couple of minutes to do that. And ¿qué vamos a ver? Okay, so we'll see how much we can fit in today. First thing I want to do, however, is a little vocab thing. This is actually kind of helpful. Well, kind of helpful. I wouldn't choose it if it weren't helpful, because what would be the point? But it's much, much, much more vocabulary driven, for sure. And this is a little thing about change and the way not change your clothes, but change in the money sense of the word. So this will be a little easy start that will just be talking about some vocabulary tips that help people with traveling and when they're talking about money. So, okay, pueden ver a Brenda. Can you see Brenda on the screen? Sí?
Sí.
Exacto, muy bien. Okay, vamos. She's going to have some helpful tips.
Romaniello, tu profesora de español. Welcome to your Spanish class. My name is Brenda Romaniello, and today I'm going to share with you some important cultural tips about Latin America, which is spare change. Let's start the lesson with some vocabulary about money and the different words that you can use to use for money in Spanish. Repite después de mí. So repeat after me. Efectivo. Efectivo. Efectivo significa cash.
Efectivo,
Dinero.
cash.
Dinero.
Dinero.
Dinero significa money. Billetes, billetes, notes,
Billetes.
moneda.
Now, where she uses notes, notice she lives in Australia. We tend to say more bills, so paper money, right? Billetes. Billetes can also mean tickets, but billetes in this sense, in this context of talking about money, would mean the paper sort. Okay. Bien.
Marilyn, can you pronounce that more slowly?
Sí, sí, sí. Billetes, billetes, billetes. That double L will sound like a Y sound, billetes, okay? Now you may hear billetes in other contexts that where it will mean like a ticket to get on a, like maybe a mode of transportation, but in this sense, because she's talking about the whole big concept of how we talk about change, when we have conversations about people, it will mean the actual paper money bills, but she calls them notes because that's kind of more of a European, Aussie, English kind of structure. Okay.
Monedas, monedas, coins,
Monedas.
vuelto, vueltas, vuelto, vueltas, change, cambio.
So now she's going to come back. She's going to circle back to this idea of, because you look at that and think, well, vuelto, vueltas, cambio, are those all interchangeable? Can you, does it matter? She'll come back to that topic towards the end of the video. Okay.
Cambio is also change. Cambio. Centavos, centavos, cents, and this is for pesos. Céntimos, céntimos is the cents for euros. Tarjeta de crédito, tarjeta de crédito, credit card. Tarjeta de débito, tarjeta de débito, a debit card. Y casa de cambio. Casa de cambio is currency exchange or money exchange.
Okay, so that casa de cambio comes into play, you know, when you know, I kind of wonder if these are going to go away someday, but I guess not, you know, because of the prevalence of ATMs, you kind of wonder if these will go away, but it's a currency exchange. And, you know, often you see them in the airports as well as in cities, but of course you can change money at a bank or a lot of times at an ATM machine, even, you know, depending on the country you're in and how rural versus how urban the area is, all that good stuff. So casa de cambio literally means house of change, but that's what you call a currency exchange store. Okay.
Store. So, a common phrase that you will hear when you pay, if you go to a store in Latin America and you give them a big bill for something that you're paying that doesn't cost as much money, would be, lo siento, no tengo cambio. I'm sorry, I don't have change. And this is common when you go shopping in Latin America and you pay for something that is perhaps not as expensive. If you pay with big notes or big bills, you will notice that small change is really hard to come by. Certain stores, supermarkets, and different retailers don't have spare change, and so my recommendation for you is to always have small change in your pocket, have small change with you. Just don't take big notes or a lot of money when you go out and about in your trip, if you're traveling or you're visiting or if you live there, because more likely the person, the shop assistant won't be able to give you the change that you need for the item that you want to purchase.
Okay, and the reason, a lot of the reason I'm showing you this is that I think Americans are not used to this concept. We are used to somebody always having change in any store you go into. And, you know, if they can't, I mean, you know, unless you walk around with $100 bill, okay, you know, then you kind of know maybe they won't have enough change. You use $100 bill for a $2 item, okay, you might in America expect maybe they won't have change. But even for smaller denominations, it's a good thing to know when you travel. They won't necessarily, in many shops, in many stores, have large amounts of change. So that is actually a good thing culturally to know, not to have that expectation, or not to think, well, they're just trying to swindle me. This is the way it runs. They are not used to making a lot of change in some other countries.
So most likely they will say that to you, lo siento, no tengo cambio. And of course, you may choose not to buy whatever you decided you want to buy. But in some cases, if it is an emergency or you really need or want that thing, that item, you might have to just pay with that big bill and just not take change, don't keep the change, or just go without having any change in return. So if that's the case, what I want you to bear in mind is that you should have some spare change with you. So when you go to the Casa de Cambio, the money exchange store, perhaps ask them to give you small change so that you have extra. Or if you go to a store and you buy something and they give you a big note as part of the change, you can say, oh, can you break that change for me? Yes. ¿Me das cambio? ¿Puedes darme cambio? Sí, can you?
Oh, and look at, she's using dar. Isn't that amazing how all these things dovetail into each other? Okay. Me das cambio? Me das cambio. So check that out. Here is one of the forms of dar that we're going to look at today. Me das cambio. And the das is you give me. And this is done in the friendly tú form. But the me is not the person doing the action. The me is who's receiving the action of das, right? So will you give das? We would say, will you give me? They will say, to me, will you give? That's the word order that you need to expect when you have the verb, who is doing the action, and that itty bitty pronoun, the person who is receiving the action of that, right? The person who is being given. Me das cambio, will you give to me? Change. Puedes darme cambio. That's a different way of expressing the same idea. Can, puedes is can. Puedes darme, can you give to me? And notice when we have one verb by itself conjugated, we put that object pronoun, the person who receives the action of dar, in front of the verb. But when I've got two verbs right next to each other, can you give me, then people may tag that word me for the receiver of the action. They may tag it on to the second verb, because there are two verbs there in that second question. There's puedes, can you, and darme, give me. Okay, in Spanish, when we have two verbs working together, they're talking about the same activity, can you give, right? The first verb, the can verb, is conjugated, but the second one is not. Can you give? Can you give? And when we pair up two verbs working together to talk about the same activity, that second verb stays as an infinitive. Okay, and you're going to start to notice that the more you hear people talking, the more you read. Puedes darme cambio. Can you give me change? And when I've got the two verb thing, I can attach that word me to the second verb. I can do that. It's okay.
You give me some smaller change, yes, and that includes monedas, billetes, sí, o centavos, etc. So that includes coins and notes. You might be also thinking, well, I just pay with my debit card or my credit card, just bear in mind that a lot of places, depending on where you go, of course, big cities, and nowadays it's more common to be to have access to paying with credit card, but it is not entirely the case all over the place, especially if you're traveling around Latin America and you go to more rural areas. Bear in mind that they may not have the option to pay with tarjeta de crédito, with a credit card. The other suggestion that I want to tell you about is to take not all your money with you. Of course, just take what you think you'll be using for the day, with different coins and bills and notes of different amounts, so that you are able to really buy anything that you want or you need for that day. And if that is the case, that you get pickpocketed, or if you lose it, or if it falls out of your pocket, or if you just misplace the money, then it doesn't ruin your entire holidays, because you still have more money or more change back in your hotel or hostel, and it's not a big deal if you lose the money for that day. Perhaps if you want to ask how much something costs, you can say ¿cuánto cuesta? Yes, ¿cuánto
Okay,
cuesta?
there's that really basic question that everybody has in that beginning course. ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much does it cost? If you're buying one item, right? ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much does it cost? And the cuesta is conjugated for it costs, some item that you're buying.
Cuesta. And then if you want to make sure that they will have change, it would say tienes cambio de, and then whatever amount of money you have. So for example,
So, tienes cambio de 50. Do you have change for a 50? Tienes cambio de 20. Do you have change for a 20? So, you know, with the XX, that's where you put your number in. Tienes cambio de. Do you have change for this amount? Can you give me change out of this?
let's say that you have 100 pesos, 100 pesos, you can say tienes cambio de 100, tienes cambio de 50, tienes cambio de 1000. See, do you have change for 100? Do you have change for 50? And so you ask that question before you try to pay for your item. So the difference between cambio and vuelto, they're similar. Yes, they're similar, but vuelto is when you pay something and they give you money back. Yes, so that's what they return money back to you. Yes, so the money that you have. And cambio is if they can change. Yes, cambio significa change in the sense of if you can break down that amount. Yes, so they are used as synonyms in certain contexts. Yes, so for example, if you buy something from me and I can tell you, aquí tienes el vuelto, here is your change.
Aquí tienes, here you have. We say here is the change. This is actually a good thing for you guys to know. They will say, here you have it when they give it back to you. Aquí tienes. Or aquí tiene if they're using usted, right? If it's understood as usted. Aquí tiene el vuelto. Aquí tiene el vuelto. Here is your change. Here is the money I owe you back on that amount that you paid. Okay? Aquí tienes with an S at the end, or aquí tiene. Here you have, if it's the polite form.
Yes, el vuelto, whatever I have to return back to you from the transaction, or I can say, aquí tienes el cambio. If you want me to keep the change, yes, you would say, quédate con el cambio.
Quédate con el cambio. Yeah, quédate con. You know how it is when you're at a cafe or whatever, and you want to leave the rest of it as a tip. Yeah. You want to leave the change that's left over as a tip, and this would be very common. Okay, because tipping things vary from country to country. But por ejemplo, if you are in Europe and you are at a cafe, you know, that whole thing of figuring out at a cafe, if you're just having you know, un café y un platillo and a little dish of something, a little pastry, you know, not a whole full-blown meal. You're getting kind of a snack or a breakfast snack, something small. It is very common to tip in those kinds of situations for that quickie meal with just whatever change is left over from the bill. Okay, so I get smaller amounts. So quédate means keep it to yourself, essentially. Quédate, you know, just go with that change. So quédate con el cambio. And notice it's quédate. So it means, hey, you, and this is a command. Hey, you keep that. You just take it. Take the change. Keep the change.
Muy bien. I really hope that you remember this tip when you go on your next trip to Latin America, and that you do have change with you, que tienes cambio contigo, to be able to enjoy your holidays to the fullest.
Okay, so es útil. That is useful because I think a lot of us as Americans, we are really, really used to just always having change around. And many places, you know, if you think they're just trying to kind of rip you off, they're probably not. They just don't, you know, that's the way their system operates. They don't often have change for people. So it's a good thing to know to carry smaller denominations of money when you travel. Okay. Vamos a empezar. So I will send you the link to that so you can watch it again, because es vocabulario muy útil. That is really, really useful vocabulary. We're going to switch out into, first off, any questions from reading that I should hit before we go into dar and that video and ideas about dar? Nada, nothing from reading? Yeah, okay, bien. Magnifico. Okay. I want to.
I have a question here.
Sí, dime.
I mean, the quédate there, that's coming from the quedarse, right? From that word?
Well, it's coming from quedar. It's not
Quedar.
coming from quedarse. It's coming from quedar.
Quedar. Yeah, quedar.
Yeah. Quedar.
Okay.
Quedar always talks about whatever it is that is left over. Whatever is left over when you take out what is needed.
But it also means stay. Is that right?
It can mean stay. Quedarse can mean stay in a place, like stay in a hotel, stay with your relatives, staying at an Airbnb, right? Quedar is a verb, is one of those verbs that has many, many, many uses. And that quédate is going to look like it's a reflexive, but it really means just keep that leftover stuff for yourself.
Okay.
And the te means the for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sí.
Magnifico. Okay. A ver, I think some of you might have had some questions. This was in some ways kind of a tough video. This one about dar, all the many, wow. Dar is one of those verbs that has a lot of uses, lots and lots of uses. Dar by itself means what you see on the screen. Entregar means to hand over, to turn in. If I am at the bank and I've got a bunch of documents I've got to, you know, hand over to the guy at the bank, this is dar. This is entregar. Entregar is a way long word. Entregar means to turn in, to hand over something, okay? But a much shorter verb that means has a similar translation is dar. And dar is a much shorter word, therefore a much easier word to use. And dar just means to give. But besides that simple translation of give, dar is used to convey special little ideas depending on what other words you cluster with dar, okay? And that's the point of that video, is that dar by itself means to give. But when we combine dar with other little phrases, it will often take on a special meaning that is not directly translatable. So dar just by itself, to give, isn't too bad. And she gives conjugations, but we're going to look at those with a different framework later. Darse cuenta. And the de algo means of something. Darse cuenta. Darse cuenta means to realize. Literally, darse cuenta means to give oneself. Yes, Juanita, it's reflexive. Darse cuenta means to give oneself an account. Well, you would never say that in English because it wouldn't make any sense to anybody if you translate it that way in English. But the word we use for that idea of darse cuenta de is realize. When something dawns on you, oh, it just hit me. Okay, so you won't all need to use that yet. Some of you who are a little more advanced may say, oh, that could be useful. Here, por ejemplo, you're talking with somebody, you know how you're talking with somebody and you get lost in the time and you're not watching the time. And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I've got an appointment at 10 and it's 5 minutes to 10, right? And now it hits you and, me doy cuenta de la hora. Oh my gosh, I'm realizing what time it is. Realize when something hits you all of a sudden. So darse cuenta can be used for that. Those of you who are super in beginner mode won't need that yet. But she had a good explanation here. Me di cuenta de que no tenía mi licencia de conducción. I realized, and she put that in past, so don't worry about that yet. Me di cuenta de que no tenía. I realized that I did not have. Okay. A ver. Muy útil. And there are two of these phrases that are alike. Me da lo mismo or me da igual. Me da. And literally, this is why dar is used as a combination of words. To me, it gives the same. What? But this is a very, very useful phrase. Me da lo mismo. And a phrase that means the same thing is me da igual. Instead of lo mismo, did she have it? Did she put it in the phrase box as well? Okay. Me da lo mismo. And take out the lo mismo. Take that out and put in the word igual, which sounds like equal, doesn't it? Doesn't igual sound like equal? Well, that's what it means. It gives me equal. It gives me the same. What? Okay, this is a retort. This is something you say, somebody says, vamos al parque o vamos al café? Should we go to the park or should we go have a coffee? And when what you mean to say is, it's all the same to me. This is the phrase you reply with. Me da lo mismo. Me da igual. Me da igual. I kind of prefer me da igual, but me da lo mismo.
Marilyn, how do you spell the igual?
Igual? I-G-U-A-L. Igual. Igual.
I-G?
I-G.
Yeah.
Igual. Igual. I'm going to forward here. I don't know if she puts it on screen as igual or not. Does she have it? Me da lo mismo. Okay. And here she gave an example. Me da lo mismo si manejas o manejo. It's the same to me if you drive or
Oh.
I do the driving. I don't care who drives. So me da lo mismo is kind of like saying I don't care, but not the I don't care of, you know,
Yeah.
like truly you don't like something, not that idea. Meaning, either one is good. When you're given a choice and either one is fine with you, that's when you respond, me da lo mismo, or me da igual. Me da igual. Okay, ¿vale? Bien. So, muy útil. That one is super, super useful.
But what is, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, you said that it's not the same. I mean, like, you know, this is like this, the meaning is I don't care, but I know what that means. But what is like, you know, I don't care what people say. I don't care what people think, how you say that.
Okay. So like the kind of, I don't care, right?
Yeah.
You know, I don't.
You cannot use that word,
like
right?
a negative. Yeah. Me da igual and me da lo mismo never has a negative connotation. If you have kind of a more negative connotation, like, you know, I don't care about what. If you mean, if by saying I don't care, you mean I don't like something, if it's got a negative connotation, then you can say something like no me importa. No me gusta. You can say no me gusta. You could say no me importa. It doesn't matter to me. Don't like it. Yeah, those would have a more negative. And notice when you teach, if you taught somebody, I don't care. I don't care. Do you want to go biking or do you want to hike? I don't care. That doesn't have a negative connotation. It means you'll do either activity, right? Do you want to have coffee or tea? I don't care, right? But I don't care, depending on your tone of voice, right, can have a different meaning. So if it's negative, you'd probably want to say something like no me gusta, right? Because you're not saying I'd like either or, you're saying don't like that at all, right? No me gusta or no me importa. No me importa. Okay. So, gracias. Always interrupt if you've got a question. Don't ever be afraid to do that. Okay. Magnifico. Here's the next one. This is also super, super common, but again, it's a combination of dar with other words phrased around it, and it changes the meaning of dar. It's not just a straight give connotation anymore. Okay, and this is dar una vuelta. A vuelta is this. This is a vuelta. Volver means to return, come back, and vuelta means a circular kind of
going around.
motion. That's why vuelta for change is I'm giving something back to you. That's why that money, that word vuelta is really, really useful. Vuelta comes from a word that means this kind of a circular, started at this point, come right back to it. Vuelta in this idea is kind of like saying a lap around or a short distance. Vuelta is a short walk, a short trip. It wouldn't have to be a walk, it could be a drive. But it's kind of like the around the block idea in a way, okay? It doesn't necessarily have to be a block, but dar una vuelta literally means to give a turn, okay? But dar una vuelta would mean to go out on a short trip and then to come right back. So if you're going out for a hike that is going to be 10 miles, that is not dar una vuelta. 10 millas, 10 miles is not dar una vuelta, right? You know, a mile around the block, around the neighborhood, just that's dar una vuelta, right? And a lot of people talk about dar una vuelta as an activity they do after dinner time. Dar una vuelta is an activity that often happens at 11 o'clock at night
Oh, wow.
because you don't eat dinner till 10 p.m. You see whole families in Spain taking walks with little children. I'm talking 3, 4, or 5-year-olds. And it's dar una vuelta because the family's taking a walk. So dar una vuelta is to take a short ride or take a short walk. Dar una vuelta. Okay. But it's something pleasurable and not heavy duty exercise. Okay. Bien. Okay. And here's one we're also going to practice. This is also super useful. This is also super used a lot. And this one is always going to be either me, da, not, and the verb is not changeable. It'll always be da, or it might be me dan, plural, me dan. Sustantivo means noun. Me da plus a noun. And it gives me something. We would say in English, it makes me mad. It makes me nervous, but we use makes. We use makes. It is very, very frequent in Spanish when something makes you feel a certain way to use this expression of me da with the noun. And the noun is the type of feeling. And notice she says noun. So like, you know, when I ask everybody, ¿Cómo están? How are you guys? And somebody goes, oh, cansada, cansado, tired. Tired is not a noun. Tired is an adjective. So we have to pick a noun. Okay. And so notice the example she's got at the bottom. Tristeza, sadness. It's not triste, sad. It's tristeza, sadness. Me da rabia. Rabia is like extreme anger. Okay. Me da rabia. It makes me mad. Okay. Me da alegría. Alegre and contento mean the same thing. And alegría is the noun. Ooh, me da alegría. It makes me da, 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 da. Ready to do a cha-cha around the room. That is super useful, super útil. We're going to practice that in a little bit with our practice. And I think that is the last one. Is that the last one I want to talk about? Oh, okay. This one is not one I want you to focus on. And somebody did ask an email this weekend. What does this mean? No dar pie con bola. Bola, bola is a ball, literally a bouncy, bouncy ball. And dar pie means to give your foot. Give your foot with the ball? What the heck is that? Literally, not to give a foot with the ball. Well, okay, and notice this is a negative expression. No doy pie con bola comes from soccer. If you hit the ball and it does not score a goal, or you've hit the ball to the player on the other team, it means you screwed up. So this expression is a way of saying, I screwed up on something. I messed up. I had an epic fail. Okay, but in English, we would probably say, I messed up. I screwed up. I don't want you to focus on that. If you think it's fun and you want to like put it in the back of your gray cells for, you know, later, that is fine. Okay, okay. We're going to take that off for a minute. We're going to take a look just at forms of dar. Dar es un verbo muy útil. Dar is a super useful verb because dar means to give, but it is incorporated in many, many expressions that won't literally be give. They'll convey other ideas. We're going to do this together, juntos, And actually, I think I'm going to transfer this over to my other screen so you can hear it as well. I have it in screen 2. You will not hear it. I want you guys to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on this type of activity if you want me to make a new one as a homework on that for this week. Okay. Okay. A ver. We're going to take a look. Half of this is going to be using dar. Oh, and you know what? I'm sorry. I'm getting out of order. Bear with me. My mistake. Before we do this, we need to do a warm-up. Let's not put the cart before the horse. Okay. Before we do the little quiz, we're going to take a look at all the forms of dar. Dar es muy importante. Dar is a really important verb because it means give. And it's a short word, so it's easy to conjugate. But the thing you got to remember is that one of those odd verbs, it has an irregular form only for yo. All the other forms are what you think they should be. Okay, so when we conjugate dar, we take off the AR and we add on endings that are AR endings. But yo is going to be an outlier. It's going to be a weirdo. It's going to be one that, sounds more like what you use for estar, sounds more like what you use for ser, for yo. ¿Cómo se dice I am with soy? There, gave it. Soy, right? ¿Cómo se dice I am with estar? Estoy, right? So that is going to be like that. Las formas de dar. La forma para yo, it is only irregular for yo. Doy. Soy, estoy, doy. Oh, yay. So it's like soy and estoy, doy. I know that shouldn't be an ending for yo, should it? But it's an oddball just for yo. But the other ones are the other conjugations are gonna follow with dar what you think they should be for an AR verb that is regular. So we've got doy, but, das, right? But, da, if I'm talking about one person, and look how short those are. Da, one syllable. Das, one syllable, right? Damos.
You need me, I'm here.
Damos, right? Dais if you're in Spain, but otherwise not. And for ellos or ellas or ustedes, dan. So yo is the only outlier that does a weird thing. Bien? Good so far? Okay. A ver. Now, the thing you should know about dar is you may hear a little bitty pronoun before dar. And that little bitty pronoun, the pronoun tells you who receives that action, okay? So now the reason I'm telling you this, even though it sounds like it's getting into the weeds pretty deep, the sad fact is dar is very rarely used without a little pronoun because you give something to somebody, right? You always give something at your giving. Well, who are you giving it to, right? Very seldom does it, very seldom does it hang out there, that word dar, without a pronoun. So it might be me da. He gives me, right? It might be te da. He gives you something. It might be, it won't be se, it'll be le da. And this is important because you're going to start to hear this. Le da, he gives him. Or that little le can mean he gives her. All these little words here do not tell you who does the action. They tell you who receives the action, who gets the action. Okay, so don't let that little pronoun hanging out in front of the form of dar throw you. It tells who gets it, not who does it. Okay, it might be les da. He gives them, or that les could even mean you guys. It could. Okay, and you could even hear nos da. He gives us. So the little pronoun in front of dar, which you are very likely to hear, like probably 80% of the time, that frequently, it tells who receives when you give something. Okay, it tells who. Me means I am receiving it. Te means you are receiving it. Le means he's getting it. Les means they are getting it, more than one person. Nos means we are getting it. Okay, comprenden?
Sí.
Okay, bien. So don't let that throw you. That little pronoun does not tell you who's doing it. Notice da means he gives or she gives, right? He gives me. The da could also be she gives because, yeah. It means one person is doing the action. One person is doing the action, da. One person is doing the action, da. One person is doing the action, da. It could be a guy, it could be a gal, it could be your husband, it could be your kid, it could be your neighbor, it could be your dog, it could be anything, right? If your dog is giving you a bone, whatever. If your cat is delivering up a nice little dead mouse, whatever. Lo que sea, whatever it might be. So don't let the little pronoun throw you. That tells you who gets it. Okay, bien. So dar has these forms: doy, das, da, damos. We're going to skip the vosotros dais and dan. Bien. Okay, so that's to give, and these conjugations are all for present. Presente. Presente, meaning right now, or it could be near future, right? Because we can use we can use present tense to talk about what will happen very soon. Okay, that is often used to convey that idea. Okay, bien. So here are some examples. That is used quite often in a restaurant when you want to order something. Very, very frequently. It's a very commonly used verb for ordering in restaurants or at a bar or in a street corner. Me da una cerveza. Can you give me a beer? Me da usted una bebida. Can you give me a drink? They might include the word usted. They might not include the word usted. Remember, they can do that, right? Me da algo de comer. Can you give me something to eat? Me da algo de comer, por favor. So that is used a lot for ordering things, food. Okay, often used in that sense. If you are somebody who is dabbling with past tense, because these are short words, that is a short verb, you should know that dar in the past, if you want to say gave, right? Not if you mean gives or will give, but if you mean gave. In the past, it is not going to do what an AR verb would normally do. It will sound like what you see here on the screen. Di, I gave. Diste, you gave. Dio, he gave. Dimos, we gave. These days is used only in Spain. Dieron, they gave, or you guys gave. So if you are a person who is starting off more on the beginner level, don't worry about this, but some people in this group will want this data page with past, okay? To dabble, to say that somebody gave them something in the past and it's done and over with. Entienden? Understand? See? Bien? Okay. we're going to do a trial run with this new activity to see if it is something that is helpful. Half of this is going to drill just forms of dad. And half of it is going to drill combining a special word with dad to convey a meaning. So you'll see. If you were to play this, if I gave you the link on this, it would go thus. Oh, and it's going to say a close activity, meaning you're going to have to essentially pick the right answer. There'll be a blank. I'm going to have to pick the right answer. And the first 5 of these are going to be just, can you pick the right form of dad? Nothing else. Okay. Bien. The second half is going to be more idiomatic. So we're going to look at the first 5. Missing word, close activity where you drag and drop the word. So if you got this as a link, you would have to click on the word and literally drag it into the right place. Don't just click on it. Okay. Could you hear the little music? La música. Bien. Okay. Bien. We have to look at who is doing the action.
Le de comer al gato.
And de comer means to eat.
To eat.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're giving food away is what you're doing.
Yeah.
Da.
Does.
Who's doing the giving?
To.
Tú.
You.
Tú.
Das.
That is going to determine which verb we need. We need to pick one of those. Now, if you just click on it, that won't do the job. You have to click and drag it down. So which one is going to be? Tú le
das.
tú le das. Tú le das.
El
And
gato.
tú le das. What does that mean? ¿Qué quiere decir? What does that mean? Tú le das de comer.
Are you going to feed the cat?
Yeah, basically, this is the idea we use for feed. Because literally you're giving them something to eat. The le, and I want you to notice something. That little word le tells who receives it. Who gets the food in this idea?
Le.
Gato.
Gato.
It is common when we have this le, and because le can mean one person or one thing, and it could mean many different ideas, many single entities. So it's common to name who that is if it's the word le, right? Because le is kind of vague. It could mean a lot of different people. So are you giving the cat food? Okay. And when you hit the submit button, it'll tell you if you're right. And then it'll move on to the next one. Okay, let's take a look. And I have to give you prompts because out of context, you wouldn't know. Yo le un regalo, a gift. Un regalo. Yo le un regalo de cumpleaños a mi hija. Regalo de cumpleaños is birthday gift. Birthday gift. The a mi hija is telling who that word le is referring to.
My daughter.
Hija.
Who's doing it?
Joy.
You.
Yo.
Yoy.
You're
I'm
doing.
hearing
Doy.
doy. Okay. Yo le doy un regalo de cumpleaños. I'm giving a birthday gift. A mi hija. The a mi hija is kind of icing on the cake. It's defining more clearly out because I don't have a context yet who I mean by that little itty bitty word le. Because le is any one single person. Well, that could be 1,000 different people, but I'm telling you that le means my kid. And hit the submit, it'll tell you if you're right. Okay, vale. Número 3. Caminamos esta mañana con el perro. Shall we?
Walk the dog today.
Shall we walk with the dog this morning?
This morning.
Yeah, shall we walk this morning with the dog? And somebody says, hey, let's.
Damos.
Damos una vuelta.
Damos una vuelta.
Let's take a little lap around the block. Bien, vale,
Bien.
magnífico.
Is that the same word as change?
Yeah.
What was changed? You're right.
Cambio.
In the context of purchasing something, that word vuelta or vuelto can have many contextual meanings depending on the context of the situation. With dar una vuelta, taking a walk, yes.
Okay.
But you're right, they did use dar with vuelto, I'm giving you back money. Vuelto, literally, vuelto or vuelta comes from a verb that means to return. And it means it starts at this point, it goes around and it comes back.
Okay.
So vuelto has many contextual meanings depending on the situation you're in. Okay, bien. A ver, okay. Mi esposo me una taza de café cada mañana. My hubby does something for me. He gives me a
Cup of
Cup of
coffee
coffee
and how
every
often?
morning.
every morning.
Cada mañana means every morning. Okay, so the person doing the action has to match up with the kind of verb. It's going to be das, dan,
Esposo
da,
da.
damos, doy.
Da.
Da.
Because we always have that naked vowel, da, hanging off the end. Mi esposo me da una taza de café. Bien, magnífico. Okay, uno más. Now, we're starting on some different things. This one is not going to be the form of dar. This is already going to have dar baked in, but it's going to be the idiomatic use, okay? La comida que vas a cocinar, the food that you're going to cook. La comida que vas a cocinar no es importante para mí. No es importante. It's not a big deal. I'm not picky. Me da.
Igual.
Igual.
Me da igual. It makes no difference. Do
Me
what
da
you
igual.
like. Do what you like. Okay. Estoy muy enojado. If I'm a woman, I have to say, estoy muy enojada.
Yeah.
Con mis
Estoy muy
hijos,
enojada
cuando
con mis hijos.
mucho
Cuando
ruido.
ellos hacen mucho ruido, when they make lots of noise, me da
Rabia.
Rabia.
Me da rabia.
rabia. Rabia. It makes me mad.
Mucho
It
rabia.
makes me hit the roof. Me da rabia. Me da rabia. Okay. A ver, en mi opinión, las serpientes son muy peligrosas. Peligrosas es dangerous.
Snake.
And notice this is me dan. They give me lots of a certain feeling.
Miedo.
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 Miedo. Miedo. They scare me. Literally, they give me fear. But we would say they scare me. Okay. Trueno. Trueno. Relámpagos. Relámpagos. So
Thunder and lightning.
relámpagos are lightning bolts. El trueno
Thunder.
y los relámpagos. Zap, 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 zap. Thunder and lightning. Thunder and lightning.
Nervios.
How do they make me feel? Which one makes sense there?
Nervios.
Nervios.
Lo mío.
Nervios. And notice I can't just click. I have to drag it down. Yeah. And then I have to submit. Me dan nervios. They give me nerves. They give me nerves. They make me nervous. Okay. La manzana roja tiene manchas. Ooh, manchas are stains. Stains. Blotches. Manchas marrones.
Asco.
Brown recluse.
And now I'm going to give you a little clue. If you did this and you go, oh, I have no idea. What you do is go to word reference and look up the 4 words and the colors.
hambre, hungry.
Ah, look
Mm.
up those 4 words. Let's say you say, oh, I know lo mismo, I know
Yeah.
miedo, I know hambre, I don't know asco.
Yeah.
If you saw a big red apple with a bunch of brown blotches on it,
Me da asco.
Asco.
Disgust.
me da asco. Asco is disgust or grossness. Oh, and this one, it was supposed to flip it to the top. So I'm sorry. It was supposed to flip it to the top of the conjugations of dar, but I think maybe I saved it too soon and it didn't. Los meseros means waiters, people who wait on your table. Los meseros they give drinks to the customers.
Customers.
Less done. Less done.
Dan,
Done.
bien. Okay, so when you finish the whole thing, it tells you how long
Wow.
it took. Yeah. You guys want me to devise a little thing on dar with that for the coming
Yeah.
week?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
that'd
can
be good.
you can quiz
See.
yourself. It'll be different questions. They won't be the same ones you saw here.
Oh.
They'll be
Good.
different. They'll be different. And I'm not going to pick obscure things like and I'm not going to put in past tense. Not doing that. Okay. Bien. It's all going to be present tense stuff. Okay. Vale. Magnifico. We'll see. We'll try a few of those. See how you like them. Okay. Excelente. Excelente. I'm just going to do a revision of that and put that into your, you will see a link and I'll say, here's the new self-test quiz, self-correcting quiz for dar. And you can use that as a little quiz on your own. Okay, magnífico. Hay una pregunta con dar. Is there any question about dar? I'll probably make it slightly longer. I'll probably make it more like 15. So it takes you a little while to get through the whole thing. Okay. Vale, magnífico. Un verbo muy útil, a really useful verb. Próximo. Next. We're going to go into breakout rooms soon. So those of you who are in breakout room at the more beginner level, you're going to have the chapter I asked you to look in here with some irregular verbs. So maybe grab your book, but the rest of you don't need this book. You're going to be grabbing whatever it was. I asked you to talk about 5 different activities. Yeah, 5 different activities that are talking about going to do something, And this little video here had a super short thing where they talk, and we're going to replay this. ¿Pueden oír? Can you hear them?
No.
No?
No.
Can you hear them or no?
No.
Okay, momentito. Hang on. Oh,
We can't see or hear.
because I took it off share. Well, that was brilliant of me. Okay, they're going to have many examples here. So the rest of you who are not beginners, when you go into breakout room, you're going to do an activity like what these guys are going to do. You're going to use ir plus a plus infinitive. So we're going to listen to their little examples again, because it's super short. We're going to look at some other examples on screen, and that's what you're going to be going out to do. Okay.
So
You have to turn up the volume on this.
¿Ya sabes qué vas a hacer hoy viernes?
Hoy viernes a las 8 de la noche voy a ir a cenar con mis amigas.
Voy a ir a cenar. Voy a ir a cenar. I'm going to go. Voy a cenar would be a shorter way of saying that. Voy a cenar. I'm going to have dinner. Okay?
Por la noche voy a leer un libro.
Voy a leer un libro. I'm going to
Read a book.
read a book. Exacto.
Y me voy a dormir temprano.
Voy a dormir temprano. Voy a dormir.
Going to sleep
Sleep
early.
early.
I'm going to sleep early. Temprano is early.
¿Y el sábado?
El sábado por la
And notice he's building in. I'm asking you when you go into a breakout room, give a time period as well. All right, that you're going to do it at a certain time or on a certain day. That's part of the drill, right?
mañana voy a estar en casa.
Voy a estar en casa. I'm going to be at
Home.
home. Okay, vale.
Necesito lavar mi ropa, limpiar mi cuarto. Por la tarde necesito lavar mi carro. Y en la noche voy a hablarle a mi abuela.
Voy a hablar.
Going to call.
Talk to my grand.
Talk to.
Right, talk to grandparents. Sí.
Para ver cómo está.
Muy bien. Yo el sábado tengo muchas cosas que hacer. Por la mañana tengo mi partido de fútbol. Por la tarde quiero ir a comprar comida al supermercado. Y por la noche voy a ir al teatro.
Voy a ir al teatro. Voy a ir. I'm going to
Go to the theater.
go to the theater. So you can combine ir a and ir. Voy a ir al teatro. I'm going to go to the theater. Perdón.
A ver una obra.
Qué padre. ¿Y el domingo?
El domingo no tengo nada que hacer. ¿Y tú?
Yo el domingo me voy a levantar temprano para hacer ejercicio y por la tarde voy a ir a comer con unos amigos y en la noche no tengo nada que hacer. ¿Quieres ir a cenar?
Muy bien. ¿Te parece a las 9?
8:30.
Perfecto.
¿Y tú qué vas a hacer este fin de semana?
¿Qué vas a
Escribe en los
hacer?
comentarios.
¿Qué vas a hacer? What are you going to do? ¿Qué vas a hacer? Okay, so I'm going to send people off into groups. The more beginner people are going to be with me. I want you to talk about 5 cosas, 5 things that you're going to do, or your husband's going to do, or your wife's going to do, or your neighbor's going to do, right? And the rest of you will be back with me for something a little bit simpler. Bien, está bien. Hay alguna pregunta. And make sure those of you who are doing this a little more advanced with going to do something, that you build in some kind of a time period reference. A day, a week, a time, you know, a specific time. ¿Sí? Bien? ¿Está bien? Are we good with that?
Sí.
Okay, magnifico. And I think I am going to have to fiddle with this a little bit. So, paciencia. It does not like that because I've got to add a room. Okay, perdón. Bear with me here. You may be wondering why it takes me a while to get this set up properly. And the sad reason is because I never know for sure who's going to show up, because, you know, every once in a while you get somebody who has an internet problem or just can't make it at the last minute. I could pre-assign, but then people wouldn't necessarily maybe show up if they have some other issue. So I've got to do it by hand. And Linda, you want to be in the beginner group? Am I right? I think she does, so I'm going to assume.
Sí, por favor.
Sí, por favor, okay. Está bien.
A mí también.
Okay. Okay. Bien. All right. Now we're set. Perdón. Hit your join button. And I'll be in with the beginner folks in just a bit. Excelente. Hola. Estoy aquí con ustedes. I'm here with you guys. And I had you guys do a separate kind of thing out of this book, right? Because I want you to get familiar with all of these new verbs that we are learning. And I believe I told you to take a look at chapter 9, 9. And there are 3 specific verbs in there. They are ir, saber, and conocer, okay? And you had AR verbs, ER verbs, IR verbs, right? But these 3 verbs from chapter 9, capítulo 3, from chapter 9 out of here are 3 particular verbs that are all irregular in some strange way. So we want to define how they're irregular and how we use it. So we are going to be using ir technically, but the forms of ir just in present to say go, okay? I don't know if it will let me share this screen with you. It possibly will. Yeah, ir. Pueden ver. You guys can see this, right? See, can you see the screen? Okay. Ir, to go. So like estar, it has estoy, estás, está, right? Oh, and notice it's going to be like you had estoy for yo and soy for yo. This is voy for yo. All right. Ir is totally weird because they all start with the bechica. But ir is totally not weird in that we use that verb of go all the time. Ir, right? Voy, vas, va. Voy, vas, va. Those are all talking about one human being. Voy says, I'm doing the going, right? It's only for yo. Vas is when you're talking to somebody using tú as the you, and vas means you're going. Va means one person is going. Okay, it could be a gal, it could be a guy, it could even be the formal usted. All right, vamos means I'm in the group, but I have people with me, so it's the we're going verb. Vamos, right? And vamos you will hear quite often just as an exclamation. Vamos, and then it means let's go. Vamos, let's get on already. Let's move on. So vamos is often used just by itself with no other information to say, let's go. Vamos, okay? And then the plural, but I'm not in the group, to talk about more than one person, they are going is van. So the funny, odd little mnemonic device that people use to remember that ir has this odd V, they all start with a V, bechica, is they go in a van, even though we don't pronounce that word as van at all, because nobody would know what you meant. Van, right? So a little nine, they go in a van. Everything starts with the bechica, the little V, okay? Voy, vas, va, vamos, van. Okay, vamos a ver. Let's take a look. We're going to look at all the different words, or all the different ways we can use ir. Okay, we can use it to talk about a place, going to a place. And we have to have this little word here after ir. We always have, because the is signaling, well, where are you going? You know, unless you're saying vamos, let's go. It's always a thing of we're going to some place, right? So when you name the place, after the form of ir, voy, vas, va, vamos, van, you have to have this little word a. Okay, and then we're going to name the place you're going. Voy a casa. ¿A dónde vas? To where are you going? ¿A dónde vas? Where are you going? Where are you going? We can't just have where, it's to where are you going? ¿A dónde vas? ¿Va usted a un restaurante? Are you going to a restaurant? So we need the little word a there after our form of ir to talk about the place. Okay. Sometimes you'll hear it not just as a, but a la, or al, or ooh, and ooh, hang on. I've got a question. I've got to come back to her later. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look. I'm sorry, I got a little message on my screen. Vamos a la farmacia. Vamos a la farmacia. We're going to the pharmacy. Van ustedes al metro. Are you going to the subway? And al is there because it's a combination of a and el next to each other. That's all. A and el next to each other becomes one word, al. Okay. Todos van al museo. Everybody's going to the museum, and it's got to be al museo because it's a combination of a and el next to each other. Okay. Bien. Bien, fantástico. Sometimes I don't use al because it might be a with los, right? Al happens because a and el are next to each other. But if it's a la, it stays as two separate words. If it's a los, it stays two separate words. If it's a las, it stays two separate words. ¿Entienden? Understand that? See? Okay, bien. So we've got these kind of examples. Voy a los parques, voy a la oficina, vamos a las tiendas, Anita va, but all one word for Anita va al consultorio. Consultorio is a consulting room. It means an office for somebody in a very professional job, like a doctor, an accountant, or something like that. Okay, bien. Do you think, sí, Bill, dime.
The question I have is, how do you structure the rest of the sentence if you're going to go somewhere and do something? Is there an infinitive that fits in there somehow?
Yes, there is, but we're taking those as two separate steps.
Okay.
So I'm gonna hold off your question, Bill, not because I'm avoiding it, but because we have to do this in baby steps. Okay, so I'm going to show you two separate things. The last step is we can also use it. Again, I need the word a. We can use it to talk about what you're going to do, not a place, but an activity you're going to do. We still need that word a. Still, even though we're not talking about a place now, but an activity. So, voy a comer, vamos a escuchar, ellos van a tomar un taxi, mi amigo va a pagar. And notice when you hear va a pagar, when you hear somebody say that, they're going to blend the va into that word a. It's going to sound like a drawn out a, not like two separate words, not va a pagar. They won't stop in the middle. They'll string it all together. Va pagar. It'll sound like va pagar, even though it's va a pagar. Okay, so the va ending in an a is going to drag into the next a word. Bien. If I leave you to go into another room to talk for a minute about their question, can you use a in or ir in any combination to talk about going to a place or going to do something? Do you think you guys can take the ball and run with that for about 3 minutes?
Sure.
Okay, I want you to talk about what we're going to do, what we are going to do. Just take it as the we're going. What is the we're going to be? Which form of ir are we going to need to say we're going?
Vamos.
Vamos.
And I'm going to put this up. Vamos,
Vamos.
right? Vamos. If you want to branch out and talk about somebody else is going to do something or somebody else is going to a place, you can use either example. I want you to create some examples with somebody is going to a place or somebody is going to do something. I'd like you to start with vamos, but you can branch out into other people if you want to. Does that make sense?
Sí.
See? Bien? Okay. I'm going to stop the share on that. I'm going to go dig out the other question and I'll come back to your room in a minute. ¿Está bien? We're good? Bien. Okay. A ver. Perdón, Danita. It did not send you out to the room I intended you to be in. Perdón. Do you have some examples to share with me? Oh. Danita. Hola, Danita. And you're on mute. Danita, lo siento mucho. I'm very sorry. It was supposed to send you into a room. Do you want to give me your examples? Perdón.
Don't worry.
No.
No
La
problema.
culpa es mía. I
No,
thought
no,
I
it's
had
okay. I was thinking.
I thought I had you in a room and somehow it had it
I should
dangling
go
there.
to the beginner's room. So
No,
don't worry.
está bien. You're fine.
No,
How about
no.
if you give me your examples that you've got?
I'll just give you one because I think
Oh,
I
no.
did it wrong.
Give me more than one. I've got them off practicing.
Uno. So, todos los miércoles después de que mi esposa va a trabajar, voy al mercado. I don't know if that's
Perfecto.
what you wanted. Is that-
Perfecto. That's good.
Yeah.
Es buen ejemplo. It's a good example.
But then the
Continúa.
other-
Keep going.
Okay, so I think the others aren't correct though.
Well,
Camino a mi nieta a la escuela todos los días a las 7. So
okay.
is that wrong?
Okay. So what I want you to do is like mi nieta y yo, my
My
grandchild
granddaughter.
and I, right?
Yeah.
My granddaughter and I. Mi nieta y yo vamos a caminar.
Oh, vamos.
Vamos a caminar. ¿Entiendes?
Oh, vamos a caminar. Yeah, we
Vamos
go
a caminar
en la
todos los
escuela.
días
Okay. Yeah.
a las 7, at 7. Sí, bien. Okay, try another. Otro.
Voy al consultorio de medicina mañana a las 9. Oh.
Bien, está bien. Muy bien. So now, let's make it going to go.
Going
Voy
to go.
a ir.
Oh, voy a ir. You see, I
Voy
didn't
a
use those,
ir.
yeah.
Does
Okay.
that make sense
Voy-
to you?
Yeah. So that's
Voy a ir. Okay, now take a look at your next one and see if you can turn it into going, whoever it is who's going to do something.
okay. So
And that'll make you like do a little thinking on the fly here. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, Danita.
No kidding. Okay. So we are going to go. How would I say we are going to go? Vamos nosotros.
But
As-
just now, leave off the nosotros entirely.
Oh,
Vamos a.
acostamos todas las noches.
Okay,
We are going
vamos
to
a
go to bed.
acostarnos.
Okay.
Vamos a
A la misma
acostarnos.
hora. A la
Excellent.
misma hora.
A la misma hora. Perfecto.
misma,
Muy
es
bien.
No.
Muy bien. Muy bien. Ok, vale.
Okay.
Perfecto. Bueno, un ejemplo más. Do you have one more example for me?
No. Finito la comedia.
Or is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, bien. I am going to, I don't know if it's gonna, can it let me, I'm gonna see if I can send you to a group. If not,
Shane, sorry, don't worry.
if it will not, I will be back soon. I'm just gonna check on that first group, see how those beginner folks are doing.
You can put me with
Oh,
the
I
beginners.
can move you. I can.
You can move me to the beginners.
I know where I'm gonna
Uh,
send you. I'm gonna send you off. Check
Okay.
your button.
Gracias.
Ya de nada,
Okay.
perdón. La culpa es mía.
Yeah, I spent a while.
Okay, bien, bien. Are we good?
See,
Preguntas, questions? Do you have some examples you want to share with me?
well, I'll give you the one that I gave first off, and I was telling the group that it took me like 4 hours to put this
Oh
one
dear.
sentence or
Okay.
two. It's la próxima semana yo voy. Now it's either a or a la Denver. Encontro con mi hijo,
Okay.
to meet with my son.
Voy a Denver. Voy a Denver. And with Denver, we don't need an L or a la. It's just the city name.
Okay.
Okay. Because we don't say the Denver. Yeah.
And then los lunes por la mañana,
Mañana. Sí.
nosotros vamos a la Seattle en la camión U-Haul.
En el camión U-Haul. Okay. Vamos a Seattle. Again, if I name a city, I won't have an L or a la or an al. It'll just be a. Vamos a Seattle. Vamos a Seattle. Bien?
Sí.
Okay, muy bien. Hiciste bien. You did well with that, Bill. Hiciste bien. Okay. Perfecto, perfecto. Algo más. Something else you want to share with me? Anybody? See?
I'll try the one I use and see
Okay.
if it's correct.
Okay.
Mañana de la tarde, mi esposa y yo vamos al supermercado a comprar comida por la semana.
Okay. Muy bien. Excelente. Fantástico. ¿Hay más? Any other examples you want to share with me? Because pretty soon I'm going to bring everybody back because we're getting close to the end of our hour here. Nada? Bien, bien. I'm going to bring everybody back. Okay, we should have people coming on back in about 30 seconds. Quince, about 15. Oh, ¿dónde están? Aquí vienen. Here they come. Okay, and make sure you take yourselves off of mute. Off of mute. And Mary Ressler, because I've got two Marys. I messed up, Mary. I put you in the wrong group. I'm going to give you a choice, Mary. If you want to add on about 10 minutes with me after I end the meeting for other people, do you want to do that, or do you want to do a different day?
No, we can do that, but it was fine because there was two of us and then three of us towards the end. So it was actually good. We went back.
It worked okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It did. Yeah.
Bien, okay, vale, magnífico, great. Bueno, exacto. preguntas. What kind of questions you have coming out of this practice to use ir with talking about what's going to happen or mixing in time periods? That might be part of your question too. ¿Hay alguna pregunta? Bill.
I guess my question is, when you're constructing a sentence, is there any rule about how you put it together? Like you're going to go someplace and do something for some reason, etc.?
Okay, and you had voiced that a little bit earlier, and Bill, you ask advanced questions. Wow, I like that. Okay, I may build this into your homework with the we may do that. I'll have to figure out a way to do it because this is a new vehicle for me, but anyway, but we'll do it for now on the screen. Yeah, you can see my big screen, right? See?
Yeah.
So the question is, how do we build all this together? And Bill had a more like, okay, let me see if I can rephrase this from what you asked me earlier. Like, I'm going, or like, oh, we're going to Denver tomorrow to work. We're going to Denver tomorrow to work. Was that the essence of your question, Bill?
Yes, and at a particular time of the day or afternoon or whatever.
So, you know, we're going tomorrow at 8 o'clock to work. So we're not going there for fun. We're not going there to sightsee. We're on a business trip. Bien? Good? Okay. So what we're going to do is going to hang off the end of the sentence. In the big picture of word order, that purpose, we're going on this trip at this certain time to work, is going to hang off the end of the sentence just like it would in English. That part is going to be consistent. So let's build this. We're going to Denver. ¿Cómo se dice we're going to Denver? And Denver is not the Denver. So keep that in mind. It's just Denver.
Vamos
a Denver.
Vamos a Denver. At 8 a.m. At 8 a.m.
A las 8 de la mañana.
A las 8 de la mañana. If we want to designate not 8 p.m., but 8 a.m. A las 8 de la mañana. To work, not to sightsee.
Trabajo.
Okay, you know it's got to be something like this. Is it? But what?
Trabajamos.
But we're going to say here, and Bill, this is actually a really good question, because if I say we're going to Denver at 8 o'clock, at 8 a.m. to work, is the context, is the idea you want to convey in order to work? Is that what we mean, in order to work, rather than in order to have a vacation? We mean in order to, right?
Yeah.
So here, Bill, is the little extra word you need, and I'm going to cap it.
Para.
And now, after a word like para is what they call a preposition. Only thing you need to know is that when I pair up a verb after a preposition, I stick it back into the infinitive. I don't conjugate it at all. So it's going to be para trabajar. Vamos a Denver a las 8 de la mañana. That's all you needed to do. But you wanted to add on the idea of in order to work. So that idea is going to be expressed as this word combination, para trabajar. Okay, let's change that a little bit, because we want to say our intention has nothing to do with work. We're going to say our intention is we're going to Denver at 8 a.m. to visit family. Vamos a Denver a las 8 de la mañana.
Para visitar Mi familia.
A
A mi familia.
mi familia.
A mi familia.
A mi familia could be a nuestra familia. It could just be a la familia. It could.
A la
Any of
fam-
this. Para visitar, to visit.
Para. To.
Para, because the idea is, what is our intention? Oh, in order to do this. And the idea of in order to is expressed with this idea of this word para. And para literally means for, but in this context, it doesn't mean for. In this context, it means in order to. Para visitar a mi familia. Para, vamos a Denver a las 8 de la mañana para esquiar.
To ski.
Ski. So when you want to tell what your intention is, we're going to this place to do this. We're going to this place to do this. We're going to this place to do this. That's the word order they need to be in. Bill, does that answer your question?
The question, yeah, in addition, can you switch that around either the time, like a las 8 de mañana, vamos a Denver para trabajar, or
So your
para
question,
trabajar, vamos a Denver?
so your question is, can I take this vamos a Denver? Can I switch around the order and say this instead? A las 8 de la mañana, vamos a Denver para esquiar. Can you flip the word order? Can you flip those chunks into different positions? Does that make sense, Bill?
That's my question, yeah.
Can we say this? A las 8 de la mañana, vamos a Denver para esquiar. Yes, you can. In this situation, yes, you can. Can you always flip words around? I can only, sadly, in a very unsatisfactory way, tell you, depende. It depends. Sometimes, yes, we can do that quite a lot. Sometimes, no, we can't do that. In this instance, yes, you can. Sí se puede, sí se puede. Yes, you can. Sí se puede. Bien?
And can it also, Marilyn, be vamos a Denver para esquiar a las 8 de la mañana?
Sí se puede. Yes, you can.
Okay.
Mariana, was that your question as well?
No, I had a question on, so trabajar means to work.
Sí.
So if you leave out the para, how does that change the intent of the sentence?
Oh, okay. Buena pregunta, Mariana. So if I took out, and now I'm going to say this, you know that trabajar means to work. And
To
if I
work.
mean we're going to Denver at 8 o'clock to work, isn't that enough? Isn't that enough? Because I'm going to Denver at 8 o'clock to work. Well, trabajar does mean to work. Isn't that enough? In this case, it's not enough. I need to have that word para. I really
Okay.
need,
Oh.
yeah, I really need that word para. I
Because
really need that.
it's not even a sentence if it just doesn't make sense if you leave it out.
Okay, so if I took this word para out and I just, I'm chit-chatting with somebody, vamos a Denver a las 8 de la mañana a trabajar. They're gonna do this. They have to think about it. They have to think about it because about 80% of what you said makes sense. Vamos a Denver a las 8 de la mañana. They're great up to that point.
Okay.
But if they don't have that para trigger word needs to be there
Okay.
for them to process that.
To make sounds complete.
Okay, so now it sounds like, wait a minute, somebody jumped
Hanging.
and skipped a step, like they skipped a step.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to Denver at 8 o'clock in order to work. Do you have to say it that way in English, in order to work?
No.
You don't have to.
Work.
You can say it as, in English, we're going to Denver at 8 to work. We have a couple of ways we can do that. In Spanish, you don't have that option. You got this option.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you know? You know
Yeah.
from somebody using an example. Yeah. So, you know, I may build, I think what I'm going to do, because this was a really good question, because a lot of times we want to say more than what we got the context for, right? Yeah. And this is kind of one of those situations. So I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to build not just a dar, check yourself. I'm going to build a second thing with a vamos a, and I'm going to build in this para idea into the homework for you to check yourself, with a little extra exercise over the week. Does that make sense to you?
Sí, gracias.
Does it make sense for me to do this as an English and you figure out the Spanish, or just fill out a vocabulary word? Well, I'll figure something out, whatever makes the most sense. I'll look at the kind of combinations I can pull together and figure out something that makes sense for you to work on this week. Es buena pregunta, Bill. That is a really good question. Sí, Roger.
Yes, if you took out the 8 o'clock and just vamos a Denver mañana, can you say that, or do you have to put something before mañana?
Oh, do you have to put something in?
Tomorrow, if it was going to be tomorrow. Mañana
Just mañana works. Vamos a Denver mañana para trabajar. Sure. If you take out the clock time, absolutely. Vamos a Denver el viernes.
Okay.
We're going to Denver on
Friday.
El viernes, on Friday. And to say on Friday, we have to say it as el viernes. Don't say it as en viernes, right? Our natural idea, oh, on, it must be en. Not with the day of the week. With the day of the week, it's el viernes. So look at what we're putting together here. We've got a bunch of what they like to call chunks. These are word combinations that just go together because they're right. They don't translate word for word, but they are chunks that go together because they make sense. El viernes is a chunk. It means on Friday. And para trabajar is a chunk. That means in order to work, instead of play, instead of have fun, instead of skiing, instead of sightseeing. And the vamos a Denver is a chunk saying what or where we're going in this case. Bien?
So I have a question here. So if you use the el viernes, so on Friday, what if we say, is it like we use en viernes de la noche, for example, or el viernes de la noche?
Oh, you want to say Friday night?
Yeah, so you use el viernes or en viernes?
Buena pregunta. Por la noche. You could use en la noche. You could use en la noche. They're pretty interchangeable.
Oh, so you don't use de la noche?
Oh, no. Qué buena pregunta. What a good question. Let's take a look at that, Juanita. We're going to look real quickly. Vamos a Denver el viernes.
So that's why my question is
when
like,
do I use por la noche versus en la noche versus de la
De la
noche.
noche.
Oh, this is a pain in the butt if ever there was one. This
That's
is a
true.
pain in the butt. That is true. Okay, so here's the short thing, and I think I created something. Okay, I think I've got some Google Slides on this. Por la noche and de la noche are often interchangeable. When I'm talking about this thing, a time of day, it's got to be the combo of de la noche.
Oh,
Okay.
got it.
So, vamos, you're talking about what
Okay,
time
okay.
your flight leaves.
Okay.
Bien, you're talking about what time your flight leaves. Vamos a Denver el viernes a las 8 de la noche.
Okay. Got it.
If I'm talking about
Specific time.
a specific time, then it has to be the chunk
De la noche.
of de la noche, because I mentioned the time. Look at this sentence here. Do I have a number time off of a clock?
No.
No. And because of that, I cannot use the chunk de la noche. De la noche is a chunk that has to pair up with a time off of a clock. Does that make sense,
Yes,
Juanita?
yes.
Bien.
Yes. And you
Okay.
use L instead of N, right? We don't use N. En viernes, so L, viernes.
El viernes. El viernes is a chunk. It means on Friday. Normally, in many contexts, en means on. I could say en el libro, in the book. I could say, la taza está en el libro. It's on top of the book, right? But so I can say it's on something. Las gafas están en la cabeza. My glasses are on my head. But if I say on Friday, on Monday, on Tuesday, it cannot be en.
Okay.
It's got to be the chunk of el.
Okay.
I think I may create a little exercise where I chunk some words
Yeah,
out and
perfect.
have you figure out, hey, what order can these go? Bien? Sound good? Sí, está bien?
Gracias.
Gracias.
Sí,
I
gracias.
think a thing of word order chunks with word order may work well. I'm going to see if I can put that in the context of that new website I found. Make sense? See?
Sí.
Sí.
Excelente. Okay. Wow. We got into lots of stuff. Okay. So do your extra reading. I'll probably find an extra data video, but different data video to give you, and I'll give you one thing. It'll be just on dar, a little self-correcting exercise, one little self-correcting exercise where I hope we can put some words in the right order. Make sense? Sí?
Yeah.
Sí.
¿Todo bien?
Sí.
Todo bien.
Gracias. Gracias.
Fantástico. De nada. Okay. Bueno, Mariana, ¿tienes pregunta? Do you have a question? No, bien, okay. You're reading the, Dios, sí, okay. Bueno, nos vemos el lunes. See you guys on Monday. If you didn't sign up for the B session, keep in mind in November, estamos al principio de octubre, we're at the beginning of October, but that B session is considered a separate fall session. So if you want to be in that, make sure you're signed up for that, just as a reminder. Okay, todo está bien. Nos vemos el lunes. See you guys on Monday. ¿Sí? Bien.
Sí.
Excelente.
Adiós.
Nos vemos.
Adiós.
Hasta
luego.
luego.
Gracias.
Hasta luego.
De nada. Es un placer. Nos vemos.
Me gusta.